a big milestone in the COVID era we live in. On Thursday, Governor Lamont lifted most of the restrictions, outdoors anyway, in terms of the COVID-19 protocols we've all been living by. Joining us now is the president and CEO of Hartford Healthcare, Jeff Flaks. And Jeff, good to see you here this morning.
Good morning, Dennis.
So what do you think of the governor's movement to lift these restrictions?
I think we as we have throughout this crisis, right, the governor's been very inclusive. He's continued to seek input from us, and we're using data to help us make these decisions. So we're looking closely at hospitalizations, community infection rates, the number of vaccines, where the vaccines are being distributed. So I support it, but I also always acknowledge the agility that we have to make changes accordingly based on what the data tells us.
What kind of changes are we seeing in hospital life in terms of visitation and things like that? I know that during the height of the pandemic, visitors were not allowed. What's the story now, and what will it be in the near future?
But Dennis, that was amongst the most difficult decisions to make, and I'm very proud in our organization. You know, we effectively were the last people to restrict visitation and the first people to bring it back. I never want to see us in a position of restricting any visitation. We want to always ensure that family-centered care exists, that people have their loved ones around them to advocate for them, to be with them and support them when we're in these periods of greatest vulnerability. So I'm very pleased that visitation is largely back across all of our institutions.
You know, Jeff, we have been reading reports that indicate that most of the people hospitalized with COVID these days have not been vaccinated. Is that what you're learning and seeing at Hartford Healthcare?
Absolutely. So, Dennis, we study it weekly. We examine. Today we have 108 patients in the hospital who are COVID positive. That number has fluctuated between 80 to 90 to a high of 125 over the last 6 to 8 weeks. And when we look at each person, we examine that very data point. In almost every instance, nearly every instance, the people who are in the hospital today have not been vaccinated or have not completed the full vaccination.
Jeff Flaks, the president and CEO of Hartford Healthcare, thank you for joining us. Great to see you here again.
Thank you, Dennis.